Next, we have Vanja Palmers. Vanja Palmers was priest ordained and received 10 years of formal Zen training at the Zen Center of San Francisco, as well as Dharma transmission from Kobun Chino Otogawa Roshi. Vanja has co-founded meditation centers in Switzerland and Austria and is now exploring the combination of meditation and entheogens, organizing related retreats and studies with the University of Zurich. Please help me in welcoming Vanja.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Time much. Good afternoon. Maybe we all have been hearing a lot today, a lot of interesting things and a lot of intense things. Since I sort of represent here the meditation group, I suggest we are quiet for like 2 or 3 minutes to just calm down a little bit, sit comfortably. If we usually say if you sit in a chair, you keep your feet on the ground. And you can close your eyes, and I have a little dog like that at home. Just settle and be quiet for a couple of minutes and relax. So I wish I had a nice bell to bring you back here, which I don't at the moment. First, I wanted to thank for the invitations to come here and speak, and thank you for coming here to listen. Unfortunately, this talk really meant to be together with a talk by Milan Scheidecker, who is holding a talk right now in another room at the Sky sky lodge, sky room. And it was really meant to be together, but it was scheduled parallel, and it was no way to change it. So it's a little bit unfortunate, because we are talking about the same study, basically, and Milan was presenting, or is presenting right now, the scientific aspect of it, which I would have personally interested to hear, because I don't know so much about it. And I was then going to follow from there. But we can also, if anybody who is interested, of course, can look it up at later on the live stream. The theme of the talk today is psychedelic and meditation, psychedelics and meditation, and this is something that has occupied me for a few years now, and I like to talk about it on the one hand, because it is really something that concerns me, that I have some personal interest in it. On the other hand, I don't like so much to talk about it, because it tends to split people, or the Sangha. Probably not in this group. Probably in this group, most people have a open, positive attitude. But when I talk about it in Buddhist circles, it very quickly polarizes the reactions. Some people think it's finally somebody talks about it and how great and liberating and so forth, and some other people feel really offended, and that I'm betraying the ancestors or something like that. So psychedelic and meditation, I can see it on three levels. On the very first one is on a personal level. In my own life, and when I was about 20 years old, I was clearly set on the career that my family tradition has given. I was studying business, and I already had my own business called Vanja Palmers. And then I happened to drop a few millionth grams of a substance called LSD. And that completely changed my life. And for, I think it was the second or third time that I took it, I experienced myself as a Buddha, as a sitting Buddha in full lotus. Now, I had no idea what a Buddha is. I was not interested in religion. And I certainly couldn't sit in full lotus, because I was much too stiff. I didn't even know what a full lotus is, but I had the physical experience of sitting in full lotus and looking at the world as a Buddha. That was sort of very essential, or very important. It vibrates until today. It was also very confusing, because I didn't know what to do with that. And but it certainly brought me then over the path of yoga. I was a yogi for 2 or 3 years, to meditation, and I ended up in the Zen Center of San Francisco, and I did a more or less formal training as a Zen person for 10 years at Tassajara and Green Gulch, and I continued after I got back to Europe. And for about 30 years, I basically was abstinent in terms of psychedelics. I practiced meditation, and as good as I could, and I sat a lot, trying to get something similar to what I had experienced under psychedelics. I never really succeeded. Some of my friends did. I didn't really succeed. I had very nice experiences and deep experiences, but above all, it stabilized my life. I became somewhat a stable, somewhat content person. But I always knew, because these substances, these experiences had such a deep influence on me, that sooner or later I had to go back and look into them again. So that's the personal level where meditation and psychedelics, for me, very clearly have a very close relationship. I could not imagine having become a meditator and would be standing here now talking without the help of these substances. And I'm not alone in that, as we all know. And that, you could say, is the second level we can look at, is that in our time, Buddhism and interest in Eastern spirituality is closely related to the rise of psychedelics. Most of you know the Tricycle, the Buddhist magazine, about 15 or 20 years ago now, made a survey, and out of the 1,500 respondents, 83% reported that they had psychedelic experiences. Well, that's a lot, 83%. So also in our time, psychedelics and meditation are very, you cannot separate them really. And the third level is then, if you go even back more historically, we can, oh yeah, I wanted to mention that there are a couple of books I wanted to mention that address the rise of psychedelics and Buddhism in our time. Some of you know Zigzag Zen, Alan Balding, and Altered States by Douglas Ostow, Buddhism and Psychedelic Spirituality in America. They talk about that. And then there's the historical connection where in the rise of religion, and Bob mentioned it just earlier a little bit, these substances played an essential role. All religions started from a primal religious experience. It was the enlightenment of Buddha, or some deep experience that some people had, and then out of that the great religious traditions arose. And of course these things cannot be proven in any way, but many signs point to the fact that a lot of these original primal religious experiences were occasioned with the help of psychedelics, of plant medicines. And there's a book just came out, fairly new, Mike Crawley, The Secret Drugs of Buddhism, Psychedelic Sacraments and the Origin of Vajrayana. In the old scriptures like Rig Vedas, these substances are again and again mentioned, even though we don't know exactly anymore what they were. They are very present, and they were very essential in the understanding of what they were doing. And of course, it goes even beyond that, where I think in the rise of the human consciousness, these substances had a very central role. All cultures have some way or another to alter consciousness, and not only the people. There's an interesting book out by Giorgio Simonini. He's an ethnobotanist, Italian man. It's called Animals and Psychedelics. the natural world and the instinct to alter consciousness. And he identifies over 100 different species that alter their consciousness consciously. I personally like the fly that goes to the mushroom and eats it and then falls on the back, and for hours, he describes up to 40 hours, they're completely catatonic, and then they start moving again and fly away. Or another example I like a lot is that the reindeer, they eat Amarita muscaria, the magic mushroom, and they have learned so at the post. Oh, okay, we have to. They eat the piss in the snow because as also the shamans do, they drink the urine, and because a lot of it is still in it, and you can. So they have learned that eating in the snow their own piss, and then they get high again. So, but I should come to the study, which we have a 3-minute film. Maybe we start out with that. There's a 3-minute film that just gives a little impression, and somebody is going to make a film about that. But just to maybe Milan was going to show it, but since I thought we can see it here. Until it comes, I was fortunate to participate in some of the Native American church ceremonies, peyote, and I realized that it's very structured. And any of you who know a Zen sesshin, where we sit for like a week, it's very structured. You don't just go in and out, and you don't just sit anywhere. And like in the peyote ceremony of Native American church, it's not supposed to lay down, and if you go out, you're supposed to go out this way and that way. It's very much like a sesshin. And so I thought, well, if that's a good container, maybe a sesshin is a good container for these very deep and sometimes difficult experiences. And so I went to my good old friend Franz Vollenweider, who is a professor at the University of Zurich, and asked him if he thought it would be possible to do such a thing. Well, he has good relations. And I said, but it would have to be in our meditation center. It would have to be in a nice, look, okay. Let's see if we see something.
Meine Erfahrungen mit bewusstseinserweiternden Substanzen sind nicht sehr weitgehend, aber ich kann schon, glaube ich, zusammenfassend sagen, dass auch durch solche Substanzen man zu so einem Alleinheitsbewusstsein kommen kann. Aber auch wenn das nicht der Fall sein sollte, wacht man auf zu einem Bereich des Bewusstseins, der vielen Menschen gar nicht bewusst ist, dass er existiert. Und dieses Aufwachen scheint mir eigentlich schon das Wichtigste.
Also ich tendiere schon dazu zu sagen, das sind nicht nur einfach biochemische Prozesse, die ausgelöst werden, sondern es gibt vielleicht schon auch eine Intelligenz außerhalb von uns. Aber letztlich trägt man das mit sich, da gibt es ja nicht, das ist ja auf eine Art auch eine Glaubensfrage, oder? Man glaubt daran oder man glaubt nicht daran. Und das Interessante, finde ich, ist einfach damit, mit diesen Fragen die Erfahrungen zu machen und immer wieder auszuloten, ja, wohin geht's, oder? Manchmal sieht man mehr die Moleküle und manchmal sieht man mehr die Schöpfung, denke ich.
So this took place in a very beautiful location in the mountains outside, surrounded by beautiful nature, which was one of the criteriums Albert Hoffman suggested, that the outside is a very... and he was the second influence, actually. Not long before his death, I was able to spend a whole day with him, and when he passed on at the age of 102, and he said, these holy substances belong into the hand of meditation. I have a red light, I have to stop, I guess. Okay, do you have any questions?
Come up and speak into the microphone here.
I like your dog, I have one just like it.
This is Chiwi, it's her birthday today. She's 11. So my question is, what is your experience with psychedelics and the body's kind of re-entry into like this world afterwards, as far as the chakras are concerned, and you know what is occurring to the chakras when one is on psychedelics, and how do they kind of come back to this world in a way that an integration, in a way where the chakras aren't all blown out, so to speak?
Well, I'm not so familiar with the chakra concept because that's not what we talk about or how we talk about it. But in some ways, I feel really the meditation and the psychedelic go in another direction. So we, in meditation, we settle down, and then especially in Zen, there's a certain control and strictness and discipline. And these substances sort of blow it totally open, make it, question it again. And my personal motivation was also that I wanted to ask my peers, people who have a lot of meditation experience and very little or none, best none, experience with psychedelics. What do you think? Is that helpful? People who have been sitting for 20 years and for the first time get an experience like that. And I can say that out of all the 40 people, not a single person said it was harmful or bad. They all had between good and excellent, and some were excited, and some were, and felt that, and that was very important. 6 months later, I wrote them all, and that they felt that their daily practice was sort of refreshed and renewed, and they found more inspiration again. One person had a very high thing and was all excited. The next day, she was depressed a little bit. She said, oh, I don't know. But then we had, another day of sitting, and then it came all together again. And we sit for a week anyway. And then on the fourth day, half of the people got placebo, half of them got the psilocybin. So I can tell that much, that all 40 people felt that it was helpful, and none of them had serious confusion or fear or anything like that. So the container seemed to really work.
Hi. My experience comes from Buddhism and from psychedelics. My question is framed from the Buddhist standpoint, which is many Buddhists won't touch psychedelics. They won't touch the idea of psychedelics for varying degrees of dogma, basically, stemming from the precept. Absolutely. So, and the issue here is that even though they have a very similar experience with particular experiences accessed in meditation, a psychedelic is still a substance that you go and you get and you take it, and then you experience this. It is not something that you simply self-suggest, like, for instance, with meditation. So, like, the issue there is that there's an attachment that occurs with just simply knowing that you can use a psychedelic for this effect and using it for this effect. So how does that play into a practice that utilizes psychedelics?
Of course, you can also, it's well known, get attached to sessions, to go from one session to another.
Certainly, that's the, yeah.
And the precept, is an interesting question. It probably would go too far, but it's not allowed to confuse your mind, but it's allowed. Medicine is explicitly allowed. Monks and nuns are allowed to have shelter, food, a begging bowl, and medicine. So I see that more in the direction of medicine.
In the realm of food. Thank you.
The precept by itself really goes against alcohol. In particular, it's named alcohol, and in alcohol in quantities that you get stupid or that you get drunk. It doesn't even say no alcohol at all. It just says, stay. And I really like the Kalama Sutra, where the Buddha encourages us very explicitly. He says, don't go by dogma, don't go by what the teacher says or the Holy Scriptures say. He says, you yourself have to find out, This sutra, the Kalama Sutra, is rightly known for its encouragement for inquiry. It encourages us to, in the spirit of teaching free from fanatism and dogmatism and intolerance. So the Kalama Sutra, I always quote when asked, how about that?
We don't have any time for more questions.
Okay. Thank you very much. Time's up. Anybody wants to grab me later can definitely ask questions if you feel like it. Thank you.